You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. My name is Dr. Patience Abiedu, popularly known as My Patience, and it's my pleasure to be with you this evening. And I pray that you stay the whole program because we have an exciting show for you today. As usual, I like to start by extending my sincere appreciation and greetings to our ASA, who constantly defend our territory, defend our people, defend the right for self-determination. I also want to appreciate our family and friends that are residing in neighboring La République du Cameroon that watch this program all the time, that we're here to inform you of constant things that are happening in our country, Southern Cameroon's Amazonia, and also things that are happening in La République du Cameroon, where you currently reside. I also want to say special salute to our refugees in any part of the world that we're hoping that sooner than later we'll all find ourselves back home in Amazonia. Let me begin the program also by saying that we've gone a long way since 2016 when the teachers and the lawyers went on a strike. We've gone a long way. With me today, I have our permanent guest, Dr. Fred Lobati, to talk about things that have happened, some of the things that have happened over the past 7-8 years, but mainly to focus on current events, especially the chaos that is happening in our neighboring country, La République du Cameroon, amidst impending presidential selection. Without further ado, Dr. Fred, I'd like you to say hello to everyone as we begin this program today. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman.
Yeah, Mape, I'm very grateful to be with you. One program that we reach out to our people to talk with them, to reveal to them the truth about what is going on in our land as well as in our neighboring La République du Cameroon, so that they understand the significance of the happenings and the implications to their lives. And we trust that our people will emerge stronger and much better than people are noticing right now or are afraid of.
Yeah, that's the goal. They say education is power. If you keep yourself informed, and then you know exactly where you're going to. Ignorance is bliss, but ignorance leads to death. Believe me or not, because if you're ignorant of things that are happening, you will not have the tools that are needed for you to survive. With that said, let's go a little backwards before we get to the key topic. We know that from 2016, the teachers and lawyers went on a strike, and that was around September and October. And then in 2017, exactly September 22nd, 2017, our people from all parts of Southern Cameroon, and some of them in the diaspora, came out en masse, protesting the continuous habitation of La République du Cameroon in our territory. And that historical fact, because there were millions of people that came out with that solid, firm belief that it was time for La Republic to leave. Now, we are here now 7, 8 years. Doc, there's a reason that I want us to go back. I just want you to reflect on, it's a time of reflection, to just reflect on the happenings of those years, 2016, 2017. Because if people can relate and recount and remember where they were, the passion, the belief that it was time, and then we come back to what is happening now, I think it makes us understand this journey so far. So just talk to us about those happenings in 2016, 2017.
Yeah, basically 2016, 2017 was like a pivotal year when all the hardship, the grievances, the difficulties and troubles that the children of the former British Cameroon have experienced since independence under La République du Cameroon basically came to a head. It's almost like when a woman is pregnant, gradually, eventually you come to a point where a baby is born.
Yeah.
Mature, at some point, it needs to be harvested or it fall off the tree by itself. So the grievances and the problems that these people had experienced had built up so much they could not take it any longer, and it came to a head around 2016. And La Republique thought they had us, that they had finished us off, and that they could do almost anything. They filled our universities, like the so-called newly created University of Bamenda, with francophones. Over 90% of the students were packed there. And when this university, particularly the children of the from, then they sent francophone teachers who couldn't even speak not only English but even broken pidgin English, and they were teaching in broken pidgin English. And in fact, they were miseducating our children, and they were not employing our people, not at all. Our people were marginalized in all ways. So basically, it came to a point where they could not take it anymore. And even legally, they came to a position where they put francophone magistrates in English-speaking zones in rural areas to be judging people in French, a language that the majority of people do not understand, especially the old who never went to school, and then condemning them in what they don't understand the crime was, and then taking them to lock them up in Yaoundé. Don't forget that in Womb, there was a military guy, a Bulu guy, who was basically in contention with a local about a young girl. The usual conflict between two young men about a beautiful young woman. And what happened was this military guy thought because he had the upper hand, it's a military guy, he could maltreat the young man. And it didn't turn out for him well. So Yaoundé decided to go and carry over 100 young people from Womb and carry them to Yaoundé. Until today, nobody has talked about them. That was before this crime started. And the women from Womb marched on foot from Womb to Bamenda to talk to the so-called governor. Nothing was done, and today we don't know. Those people may have been killed. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that they had reached out even to rural areas and filled them up with francophone talking people, to people who couldn't understand French. And so it was just too much. And so the people now, the lawyers took the courage to revolt against this. They had those so-called Ohada laws, some new laws that they wanted to implement. There was no English translation. They were imposing the French version on us. So the lawyers went to basically protest to ask them, why was there not a French and English translation so that we understand what is in there and use it in judging the people, besides the fact that we use by the common law and not the civil law of Napoleon that they use over there. And they walked on foot from upstation Bamenda down to Commercial Avenue, and the military confronted them and threw tear gas on them. And things went up from there to the point where the teachers also came out and said, listen, even in the schools, our children, not literally, they are being untaught in very poor pidgin French, let me put it that way. And so the teachers also, and then the commercial people also came out because, the police and the army extort them and take money from them all the time. So that's when things came to a head. And so as things, and there was a revolution. They sent Philemon Yang to sit down and talk with our people in a Yaba. Philemon Yang, while he was saying one thing that appeared good, in Yaoundé, this very Paul Atanganji was saying that Philemon Yang's statements don't matter. In fact, they were despising their so-called prime minister, who is supposed to be an English speaking. So he's a figurehead. They demonstrated that even like now, when Diongute was claiming that Sonara will be reconstructed, and they despise him by announcing that Kribi is just a week later, that Kribi will be the one that will be reconstructed constructed to be the new hydrocarbon, more or less, headquarters. So they're despising their so-called prime ministers, the figurehead individuals that they call English speaking. But as things came to a head, the whole group of the people of Southern Cameroon came out. And so, our leader at the time, Ayuk Tabe, he prepared the people towards the declaration of our independence. And on September 22nd of 2017, the whole nation, over 2 million, came out, swept, cleaned their houses, and came out marching even with dogs. In fact, there are so many things that can be said. I'll just stop right there. But that is how it built up.
Thank you so much. The reason I really appreciate you recapping this is for people to think. I'm really talking to Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, to think back of how they felt, their thought processes, what they believed in when this happened. I bet you that 99.9% Southern Cameroonians would have wanted us to just completely own our land at that time and govern ourselves, But when you think about that and you think about what has happened after then, when Biya declared war on that fateful November 30th, 2017, and then the result of all the razing, the burning of our villages, and people were forced to flee their homes, running in bushes. Women were giving birth in bushes. Women were using moss for pads. Just all those terrible images that we saw. And then at one point, we know that internet was cut down for about 6 months in that part of the world. And the international community took notice of it because they tried to hide the terrible things that they had done. And they probably got away with some of them. We don't know all the horrible things that happened during that time when internet was cut off. We don't know. But we know that homes were burned down, people were killed. We remember those. I mean, Doc, just go ahead and just remind people of the viciousness, the barbaric activities of La Republic du Cameroon to our people. I just want people to remember these things. So please shed some light on this.
But if you remember, as our people came out, the so-called governor of the southern zone, first of all, La Republic was shocked to see that over 2 million people came unanimously all over the national territory of Ambazonia, of the territory of the former British Southern Cameroon, in the major cities like Bamenda, Boya, Kumba, everywhere. And to rural areas, people came out and cleaned the streets, almost like you have a ceremony, emergency ceremony in the compound. How we sweep the dead, make it clean and tidy. As the people came out massively, La Republic was shocked of this reaction. And that so-called governor of the Southwest region, who is still there, started calling us dogs and that they will show us something. And then they brought out their troops because things were heading towards October 1 when we were going to declare our independence. We had threatened that if Yaoundé would not listen, we're going to declare the independence of the nation. So now they brought their dogs, their military, and then they started killing our people. Remember, there were some people that were shot and killed in Bamenda. And then on that fateful day of October 1, they had military helicopters flying in the air with gunships shooting the people from the air. The people didn't have any weapons at all. Young people were picking small stones and trying to defend themselves by shooting at some military. But the army was just going around randomly killing people. And since then, La Republique has started this vicious war to kill and destroy everything that belongs to Southern Cameroon. And in order to hide it from the world. They were trying to prevent locals from taking social media, Facebook pictures, or whatever documentation. But they were foolish because all of this is being documented by satellite and the air. All the information that people think is not there is available. From satellite, you can see everybody who are things that are just 1 foot separated from each other. You can identify from satellite. So you can see the military going through the villages in their uniforms, burning. You could see it in Lubialem. They went with the military vehicles going around burning houses, killing people, and even trying to hide corpses, burning them in many different places. So all of that information is available. When the time comes, it will be exposed. And we gathered that information and submitted them to competent authorities in the world. I personally submitted some. With time, they will be revealed and the whole world will know. So Yaoundé was trying to hide it in their feeble minds. At that time, Trump was president. He went to the United Nations and complained that a certain government was trying to cut the internet by seizing, these dishes that people use to be able to see things, watch television. And that's acting stupid and as children or in their childishness. Everything that Yaoundé has always done turns out to be stupid and foolish.
Wow. Yes, yes. So our people have really suffered. And then even think about the so many massacres that occurred. The Pinyin massacre, the Kumba massacre, all the Boya massacre, all the massacres that have occurred between that 2018 to now, at least 20 massacres are recorded. We have all that. If you go to Ambazonia Genocidal Library, you will see all of that. So we are bringing this history because there's a time that is coming that I want to come back to what is going on, current event. We've been talking about this topic for the past maybe 2 or 3 sessions of the Horizon about the election, which we really know it as selection of the next president of La République du Cameroon. And some people ask the question, why do we even bother talk about it? Why does it matter to us? It does matter because La République is our neighbor. We have to pay attention to what is going on in that country because based on what is going on, we will know how to respond or react. So it's important to keep track. And Doc, I know you have a lot of information on this topic, but I wanted you to start from somewhere a little at the beginning to just give us a recap of activities that you experience in preparing for elections. What are the recaps of activities that are happening now to prepare for the so-called elections, which we call selections?
Well, in fact, La République has never truly had true elections in that country. There is a window dressing event that they use to deceive the world that something happened to legitimize the government. La République has never, ever truly had any elections in its history. You can go back to the time of Ahidjo, and all of this is organized and directed and guided by the French. The French want to control who is in power in Yaoundé so that they can continue to exploit the country and carrying away all the resources and despise the people. In fact, a French ambassador from Niger wrote a book in which he says that the French who go to Africa are trained to introduce terrorism, to cause confusion, and make sure that Africans die because they want an Africa without Africans for them so they can extort or carry away all the resources. They don't love any black person. Even the so-called leaders, the so-called blacks that are thinking that they're working with the French don't love them. They don't care about them. They're just using them to steal from the land. So anyway, the French are the ones guiding all the actions of the so-called government, and they're guiding them. So they want to control the government, and they have done that since the so-called independence. You can go back. You had they marginalized the UPC leaders in Cameroon, and then Mbida was trying to work with them, and they thought that Mbida was not as submissive as they wanted, and so they brought Ahidjo from the north, a Muslim northerner who just basically had a baccalaureate, and they imposed him on them. And they used a fake election to say that Ahidjo had won. They manufactured the numbers and manipulated the people and imposed Ahidjo on them. And that's what they have always done till today. And so Ahidjo was selected. And then each 5 years, they pretend that elections have taken place and say that he was confirmed until in 1982, when they no longer wanted Ahidjo anymore. At that time, Ahidjo was trying to show some level of independence, or trying to do something good for Cameroon, which the French didn't want. And they picked their stooge, Biya, who has served them well, and deceived Ahidjo. They had a French doctor deceive Ahidjo that he was sick and cannot be leader anymore. So Ahidjo thought the right thing to do is to withdraw as president, and so he withdrew, and Biya was selected and imposed on the people as leader. And since then, they have always pretended that there was an election and confirmed him on and on and on till today. And in fact, the only time La Republique has truly been threatened in the polls was when Frundi defeated Biya in elections in 1992 and crushed him. In spite of all their tricks, Biya was crushed mightily by Frundi. And yet, they manipulated and changed the numbers. They always change the numbers in favor of who the French want. So they changed the numbers and imposed Biya again on the people. And that is what they've always done. And now they're pretending to want another election to deceive the UN that something happened in Cameroon to change government. But unfortunately, they don't know who to use because the population has reached a boiling point. They are dissatisfied with the level of underdevelopment, the level of neglect, the level of suffering, and things can get to a head where the young people will pour out on the streets in violence, and they feel the small army will not be able to contain them. They only have about 50,000 troops. Those things in uniform, whether you call them police and arms, whatever, they are not many. You put the 50,000 on the roads, the troops, the young people will overcome them because the country has over 30 million people. And if you assume that the men are 15 million, you take away the young and the old, they would have over 5 million young people active. If they go out on the streets, the 50,000 troops cannot do anything to them. So that's why they're trying to find ways to prevent this revolution that the French are afraid of. And so they don't trust anybody because they know that the young people will not vote them. So they want to use the name that they have always used, Biya, to claim that he will win. And so even though the man is literally in coma right now, there are pictures showing that the man is in his bed laying down in coma. If they think he's not in coma, he should come out and stand in Yaoundé public square, not hiding in an old picture and video in the presidency and pretending to receive somebody that happened 3 years ago. They need to bring him out to go around and talk if he's not in a coma. There are pictures that came out today showing that the man is laying in his village in his bed, almost comatose. So they use his picture to show that a picture when he was young, that he is still dynamic. He is not dynamic. This man is over 92 years old. And so the French are trying to use that name to claim that elections took place and he won. And then after that, they will manipulate and put his son, Frank Biya, Ongongo, and his girlfriend, Chantal Biya. They want to play around and take over and continue to control the country. But anyway, that's some of the tricks that they're playing there. No elections have ever taken place in La République du Cameroon.
Okay, you've probably answered some of my questions that I was going to ask you in terms of who is in charge. And you said France is really the one behind running the agenda. But I want to take us back to 1959 for people to remember where this France connection, even though La République had its independence on the 1st of January 1960. Let's go back, and I just want to read some of the things about that cooperation agreement between France and Cameroon from 1959, and it's still applying today. So this is from West Cameroon Association article that was written some few years back. But it says cooperative agreement between France and Cameroon, and this has some details of why whatever is happening now. And I'm going to read it, and then you have a moment to just explain some of the things. This, what day was this thing? Because when I read it in context, let's see. Okay, this was published in December of 2016. So more than 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. Already 57 years old, signed on the 26th December 1959 by President Abiedu and the president and the France and the president of France, Charles de Gaulle. Up to date, neither Paul Biya nor Georges Pompidou, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, François Mitterrand, Jacques Chirac, Nicolas Sarkozy, or François Hollande have changed anything. So these were already precedents that have happened since that thing was signed in December 1959. Here Article 6 raises a lot of concerns. So I'm going to read Article 6 of the Cooperation Agreement between France and Cameroon. Number 1, France shall determine Cameroon's political, economical, and socio-cultural orientations. That is big. Talk about this before I go to the next one.
Yes. So basically, you read that was on the 26th of December 1959. Remember that the Republic became independent on January 1 of 1960. So that was 4 days before the Republic supposedly became independent. And he just signed that agreement with the French because he was totally under the control of the French. And the French, they are a poor nation. Without Africa, France is relegated to the position of a third world nation. That's what the French president has said. So after this First and Second World Wars, France emerged very poor. And they needed money. And they could not let Africa go. So when they were forced to grant independence, they reluctantly did. And so before they would grant independence, they oppressed those people who were asking for true total independence and separation from France, the UPC, which they started doing in the 1940s and were killing them. And then they found Abiedu to use. And as I said, they manipulated numbers and replaced Mbida with Abiedu. And Abiedu was now at their service. So in 1959, they signed this 6-point agreement. And one of them, that's just one of them, all of them are very bad, is that France will determine the political life and the economic life and so forth of the country. And since then, France determines the politics in Cameroon. It is not Biya who determines the politics or whoever is called president. It is France. And so when they could not totally control Abiedu by 92, they got rid of him and put whoever they want. And anybody who comes there and does not do what the French want, they will attempt to get rid of them. But I want to assure people, these French that are doing this will get away just like they were evicted from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They too will be evicted from all the other countries that they are, not only in Africa, but around the world. That is a firm thing that's going to happen. I know we want to say it now, but it's for certain, 100% going to happen. So they will be evicted with time. But that's what happened there with that so-called agreement.
All right. The second thing on the agreement is France shall manufacture money for Cameroon, the FCFA, which is still the case today. Talk about that also.
Correct. And the purpose of that was to enslave the people financially and economically. When you take a loan from the bank at a very high interest rate, you become a servant and a slave to the bank because you're working hard to pay that interest, not only the money, but the interest. And so you are working as like a mouse on a wheel, as a servant and as a slave trying to pay that back. That's what France did by manufacturing African countries' money. And they imposed on them that they must, at the time, put 100% of their money in the French treasury, where they will not generate any interest, and the French can use it to finance their government for free. And then if you wanted to take any amount of money, you have to get the permission of the French president, and it could only be a small portion. And even what you took was like a loan, you have to pay an interest on it. So that's why they use that monetary policy to enslave the Africans, which has happened to today. They went from 100% to about 60%, and now it's about 50% of the money is all controlled by the French. The purpose of that is to enslave the people.
Yes, and we can't wait for a time when every nation that uses the CFR will abandon it and will have a better currency. We can't wait for that time. We know that Ambazonia surely will not use CFA once we get full control of our territory. Let's get to the third one. France shall guide the determination of Cameroon's educational programs at all levels. This is so important, Doc. Take your time here, because if you think about how we had great institutions and how they've deteriorated over time. It's all part of the plan. But go ahead, talk about
Correct.
this.
On purpose. The miseducation of the population is on purpose. So, like, we are well educated by the grace of God here in the US and other places. When you do research and you go to the laboratory, to the library, or in such areas online now, tell me how much French authentic research documents do you find? Very little. You'll find a lot of research documents from English-speaking world, which includes the United States, Canada, Australia, Britain, New Zealand, the English-speaking world. And you find a lot of research documents from European countries like Germany, and then the Asian nations like South Korea, China, Japan. And each of those countries publish their documentation or their research documents in the English language. You see very little produced by the French. The French are parasites. They cannot produce anything. It's just the same like cars. If you live here in the US, how many French cars do you see sold here? You don't see any. You see not only American cars, you see Japanese, you see German cars, you see cars from Asia. You don't see Peugeot, you don't see Renault. So how can somebody teach you what they do not know? The French don't have it in them. Their educational system is broken compared to the rest of the world. And so if they control the entire education system of a country like La Republic of Cameroon, they can only produce typically mega people who know nothing. That's why you find people doing PhD on Chantal Biya's benevolent activities. PhD is that. If you do a PhD on Chantal Biya's benevolent activities, going around giving some few things, Christmas gifts to some people, is that a research that will help the population, that will take the country forward? And then you found some people getting a PhD on democratic principles within the CPDM party. Now, this is a laughing stock. The CPDM already says that their president or chairman, however you call him, is a natural candidate of the party towards any election. The CPDM has never held a congress for decades. They never hold any, just do whatever the BIA dictates. So how can you write a PhD on democratic principles within the CPDM? Then they give you a PhD, you go around bragging you have a title called a PhD and giving lectures and even advancing to a professor. So basically they are miseducating our people. And it is on purpose in all areas. So people they think that they have learned, but they have not. And even those who went to study in France, after they finish their studies, the French children are given a separate certificate different from the ones that are given to people coming from Africa, to show that you are not like them. They don't accept you like them. You are different from them. But if you study like here in the United States, when you get your degree, your certification, the document you get is the same as any other person who acquired the same level of training and certification here in the US. But that's not the case in France. So that miseducation is on purpose. And if you look, we had a very strong education within the English-speaking system, and they have purposely tried to destroy it. In 1985, if you remember, there was a minister of education who tried to dissolve our GCE and force them to use the French system. And our young people went out on the streets and demonstrated. It was too hot a point, so they made like, okay, let's shelve it and just continue, let the GCE thing continue. But with time, they have progressively chipped on it and brought the number of years that we used to study at O and A level to be similar to those of the Francophones. And then they have come to where they have compromised the education and then destroyed our schools. All our major schools, like mission schools and that we knew where we graduated, where we had a good education. My GCE that I took was from London. Okay,
yes.
So not those things in Cameroon. So can you imagine they have destroyed those schools? And then now people are getting pass marks in subjects that they never took at the A level. So they give you an A in history when you never wrote history. So it was not just selling questions and compromising candidates by giving them the answers to answer a question. They're even giving you a mark on something that you never wrote. And then now people will say that you have a degree in this or you have that. So they are purposefully miseducating our people so that they're ignorant. That's what France is doing. It is on purpose.
Absolutely. And we thank God that the kids were brave enough to fight when the GCE board was going to be taken away from them. The kids rebelled, and that's why that GCE board is still there. Otherwise, they would have just nailed our educational system completely. Moving on to this cooperation agreement, it says the French public treasury shall have a portfolio named operations accounts to cover 100% of Cameroon's foreign exchange. Note, this percentage has been revised to 65% in 1972. But just think about it. 100% from the very beginning. 100%. That's thievery. Although they revised it in 1972 to 65%, and in 1973, in Brazzaville and Dakar, they did finally that today, in 2016, when this was published, it's at 50%. I don't really know what it is today, whether it's still 50% or not. But what do you say about this French public treasury, where our money, the foreign exchange was mostly controlled by France?
Basically, it's just the same like if you work and the money that you earn has to be put into my personal bank account and I control it 100% or 65% or 50% your income. And before you take any portion of it, I have to give you permission. You come back to me and beg me and I give you a little portion. That's what was happening. And it's even the little portion that is given to the country, the leaders are encouraged to embezzle it and go back and hide it in Swiss bank accounts and in French accounts and across Europe. So the little that was allowed, that could have been used to develop the country, Biya and his cronies, his so-called ministers, they have embezzled it and stashed them away in Switzerland and across Europe in their bank accounts, where they come back and still live lavishly on the land with large houses and large cars, but all of that money is back. So that's why the country remains poor. All our money is up in Europe, and that's what is going on there.
And it's still going on. It's still going on. Now, this number 5, and this is where Ambazonia comes to light also. France shall be given priority in the exploitation of Cameroon's strategic raw materials. In the event where France is not interested, Cameroon may seek other partners or exploit the raw material herself.
Correct. And that is the whole problem that Ambazonia has with La République du Cameroun. The French are using La République du Cameroun to subjugate us into slavery and kill us and destroy us because of the natural resources in Ambazonia. The big one is the oil. Remember that there is oil across the Gulf of Guinea. And it starts even in countries as far as Mauritania, Senegal, and then goes all the way down through towards Angola, down to South Africa. Even South Africa itself has found oil. There is so much Gulf oil there. We know about Nigeria being an oil giant. And then, of course, you hear about Gabon having oil and all these countries. Oil does not respect what people call boundaries. It does not respect. The oil that is in Nigeria is in Ambazonia. La République has some. It is across in Congo, Brazzaville, and Gabon, going all the way to Angola. And the French want it. And it was so bad that when the French wanted to seize the oil-rich portion of Nigeria, they literally propagated and financed the Biafra War towards the end of the 1960s and early 1970s, where so many people, Nigerians, over 2 million were killed. Ojukwu was hiding in Gabon while leading the war. And people have even thought that Ali Bongo may have been Ojukwu's son, but that's a different story. We'll not talk about it. But the French hand was in it. That's why I brought Ojukwu hiding in Gabon. The French were using Ojukwu and the Igbos to secede from Nigeria to break away Biafra because of the oil. And now Biafra is just next to Ambazonia. There's a lot of oil. So when they discovered that there was so much oil, so the French manufactured the so-called referendum of 1972 in order to take away the voice of the children of Ambazonia in order to control that oil. That was the whole referendum of 1972. And so since then, the French have controlled it. Now, before we focus on Ambazonia, I just want to say, after the Nigerians fought and Igbo land The Biafra land could not be separated. The French have gone back and formed agreements with the Muslims who control the oil in Nigeria, so that they are the ones controlling the refineries and oil production in Nigeria. That's another way. They still come back. So even though they couldn't come through the door, they will go through the window to steal what is in the land. That's another story. But now inside our own country, because they discovered that we have so much resources, it's not just oil, they faked the referendum of 1972. And then since then, they have subjugated our people and made sure that they have no voice, and that Yaoundé has total control, and in order to continue exploiting those resources. And that's what they're doing. They've even gone and put pipes on the ground so that the oil will be drilled into East Cameroon, taken from there and refined. And even though we think that Sonara is not working, but the oil is being stolen on the ground. And then the oil royalties that were when Sonara was there in Victoria or Limbe were being paid, but in Douala, not in our land. So they don't love us, they don't care about us. Diongute is there because he's from Dian. Dian has a lot of oil, so they're just flattering him and using him still to steal the oil. That's what it's all about.
Okay. All right. Let me read the final point on this agreement. Then we'll go back and talk about some of the actors for this selection that is going to be taking place in a few months from now. On the 10th of November 1961, and this is just right after Southern Cameroons had their independence, right? We had our independence October 1st. So on the 10th of November 1961, listen to this. Military assistance. Each time that the Cameroon president is overwhelmed by an external aggression or internal rebellion, he may call on French military assistance. In the event where the Cameroon president is unable to seek this assistance by any form of communication, the French ambassador to Cameroon can make the request instead of Cameroonian authorities. So look at the timing of this agreement, our article, part of the article. 10th of November 1961, just barely a month and a few days after we supposedly had our independence and became a federation with them. This was put into place. Talk about this, Doc.
So the Faso is the true leader of La République du Cameroon. And in Francophone African countries, he is above the dark-skinned looking person called a president. And he's the one who decides policies. Even in Cameroon, you notice recently when Biya was so ill, the French, when they thought he had died from COVID and all that nonsense, the French ambassador was the one who was watching over the presidency, and even the military was parading in front of him. He was leading. The French ambassador rules Cameroon. Biya is just a figurehead. Whoever is there as a leader is just a figurehead. And the French control, and if the leader defects from submitting to the French, they'll kill him, they'll get rid of him. And if the leader who is submissive to the French, his life is under threat, the French ambassador can call for French aid in his place. So La République is controlled totally, 100% by the French, and the true leader in Yaoundé is the French ambassador, not Biya. Don't worry that thing that he said, when I move my head like this to remove you from your position. He is subservient to the French. He is the glove in the hands of the French. The French are the people who move the gloves. The glove is he's just a glove. He has no power. Don't worry about all that noise.
Okay, talking about recent happenings. We know that we recently heard that Kamto was declared unqualified to be a candidate. So right now, who the visible main actors in this game that they already have and have the winner, but it's a game for playing sake? Who are the main visible actors?
You know, they try to deceive people so that you don't focus on the details. If you look at a house and you only see the superficial things on the outside, the color, roof, you don't see the foundation stones that hold the house together. the foundation stone that holds every activity, political activity in Cameroon is what that cooperation agreement said, is the French.
Yes.
So the situation that is going on is this. The Northeast have been expressing disgruntlement with Biya and threatened, even Amadou Ali, who died, said that after Biya, power must go back to the North, and that they will support Biya as long as he's alive. After he must go back to the North. Some young Northeast came out and were threatening that they will fight to power. Some even said they will use the nuclear alternative, whatever nuclear they meant by that. That was Osman May's son was saying that. Now, the French know that if these young people in the North who are in their millions would form a dynamic strength to come out, they will not be able to contain that. Besides the fact that the Bamley case are not happy by the fact that their leader, Kamto, won last time and the election was stolen, and the French have sworn that they will never allow a Bamley to rule in that country because they are afraid of their dynamism. So what they did is this, what the French did is this, and people saw it but didn't see it. So they got this Abadu Bello, Bello Buba Maigari, and Issa Chiruma Maigari. They went and talked with them to pretend that they have defected from the CPDM and that they want to stand for presidential election. If people go back and watch, about a week or two before they declared, Issa Chiruma went to the French presidency to speak with the French ambassador. If you carefully, even Mona, who claims that he's running, went to the French presidency and is speaking. Each of them goes and speak with the French ambassador. So the French ambassador gave them permission to pretend that they have defected and that they are running for president, so that the young people will think that they have a leader to follow. And instead of following dynamic young people the French will not be able to control, they will follow these defected individuals that will manipulate them and then quench the dynamism of any uprising from the North. And then after the elections, they will claim that they are collaborating with the central government and go back to their old position. That is just a manipulation by the French to contain any uprising from the North. Bello Buba Maigari and Issa Chiroma and all those Nordies are led by the French to contain any uprising from the North. Then coming back to the Bamley case, they know that Kamto is extremely popular. And that if he stands like he did last time where he won and crushed Biya and they stole the election, then he's going to win. He demonstrated that when he went to Paris at a meeting there. So the French have manipulated and used tricks in the books to claim that he does not qualify to stand in order to disenfranchise, basically, not only Kamto, but the Bamley case and get them out. And then they will manufacture and then put Biya. So they went and got all these people that have no weight. Remember that the SDF was founded predominantly in the English-speaking zone and the Bamley land. So, and the people of the former British Cameroon have vomited out the SDF. They have, when Frundi was still alive, they banned the SDF from operating in English-speaking Cameroon. So Joshua AC has no voice, has no base. He may go to Frundi's grave once in a while and take some pictures there, but he has no following as far as we're concerned. Some few people walk around him, but that does not represent the 8 million children of the former British Cameroon. And then the Bamley case, they are all for Kamto. So Joshua AC has no voice. Then there's another Anglophone in there who has no voice that they are using. So basically, they have looked for non-entities and given them bribes to pretend that they are standing, including the family that betrays us always, the Munas. And then they will just pretend and say that Biya won again because he's more popular. That is just a trick by the French to manipulate and then they know that Biya is a dying person. And after they have claimed that he has won, then they will play around and bring his son, because if they put his son to stand, he cannot win. People will go against him. People will get angry. So they will play this trick, then say that this old dying 92-year-old is the one who won. Then because of weakness or maybe natural death, then they bring his son in. That's one. Or his so-called wife, Chantal Biya. I call it so-called wife because I don't think he has sexual relationship with her. It's a different story. And Gongo, his family member, who are truly ruling La République du Cameroon, they want to maintain everything in control, which they will not, because Mugabe's wife tried in Zimbabwe and didn't succeed. Yeah. So they want, and so that's why you see them maneuvering and manipulating, so that when they claim that Biya has won, then they will manipulate themselves and stay there and continue to control. That's what they think. And what has happened recently is that they have formed a strategic group of people to gather under an Israeli military guy who trains the BIR. And they are putting vigilante groups all over the territory to kill people that are a threat to their government. And they will kill them silently by poison and fake street accidents and all kinds of things, and just kill them to get rid of them so that they can continue to stay in power. But that's what has happened behind the scenes that people don't know, but we know about it. But anyway, those are the tricks that they're playing. But all of this is organized and directed by the French. And the French ambassador is the true leader of Yaoundé.
Yes, he is indeed the true leader of Yaoundé. We see him popping up every now and then and making statements here and there. And of course, the French people cannot rebel or come out and demand that what is happening to their own leaders. Why are they listening to the French ambassador? Are they not an independent nation? Didn't they get their independence in January 1960? So what is all this that they still rely on the French for everything? Of course, we just went through it. Is a cooperation agreement they had signed way back. So moving along, I know you've already answered some of the questions I've asked. You've already, in answering some of the questions, you've already alluded to some things I wanted to ask you. What do they expect to accomplish by these tricks that they're having? Because you've already mentioned that Bia is most likely going to be the leader, the winner, even though he's in death's bed. And then sooner or later, if he dies or they declare that he's dead, they will just select somebody to replace him without another need for an election. And what is the purpose of all this? What did they plan? Why do they want all this to happen?
In their stupid minds, in their feeble minds, that is, they are thinking that they want to use that to outmaneuver the population and impose the kind of leader that they want to continue to use to exploit the nation. That's what the French don't care about anybody who is dark-skinned living in Cameroon, not even Biya or his people around him. They're just using them to steal and carry away all the resources, everything from the land. So that is their goal, to manipulate the population and then, control them and impose on them a leader for another so-called 7 years. Now, on the other hand, the people that are around Biya, that are in government, they have committed so much crime and so many bad things that they are afraid that if government truly changes hands to somebody else, they will go in for it. They will have to run away from the country to survive and live abroad, or they will be locked up. And so they are trying to do everything to give the impression that Biya is still alive so that they will continue looting and stealing and remain in power. But they are wasting their time. Biya cannot remain in life forever. This 92-year-old guy will die.
Exactly.
And I have always said sometimes, this man can die, they will put his dead body in a fridge and pretend that he is still alive and continue for a while. The French did it in Ivory Coast for 7 full months. When Houphouët Boigny died, the French hid the information for 7 good months. After they had secured the government they wanted, then they announced that Houphouët Boigny was dead. In Togo, when Yadema died, the French hid the information. At that time, there was no social media for 5 good months. And after they had secured and ensured that his son would take over, then they announced that he was dead. In Gabon, when Omar Bongo died, they hid the information for 3 months. You see that the time keeps getting shorter. 7 months, 5 months, 3 months. So with the evolution of social media, when Biya will pass, they cannot hide it. He may even pass in public in a way that everybody sees it, obviously, and they cannot hide. So they will not be able to hide it. But basically, these people want to give the impression that he's still alive because they want to protect their own self-interest. But even then, that house will crumble. They will still go down. It doesn't matter what they do. Ahidjo built a following around him. When Ahidjo left, that following left. They locked some up and killed some. Some compromised and started working with Biya to stay alive. Now, when Biya too will go, this thing that he has built around him will go. It doesn't matter who is trying to prop it up. It will not stay alive. It must go. And these guys that we're seeing today, we will see them no more. They will be gone.
Okay, my dear. Thank you so much. Let's come to Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. usually when I ask this question that I'm going to ask, I like to think of us at different levels. You have Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians that are real Ambazonians that are fighting day and night. Those who live in the diaspora, those who live back in our territory, in the home front, those who even live in La République du Cameroon, that are working hard behind the scenes, fighting for us to really eventually get our freedom and control our territory. And then there are those Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Well, no, I'll just say Southern Cameroonians. I'll not call them Ambazonians. Those Southern Cameroonians who are neither here nor there. When we get our independence, they will be in the line, really ready to get into the country and find food somewhere and find positions. So they are. But if things don't go our way, they are willing to stay with La Republique and benefit from whatever La Republique can offer them. And so these ones do not really pay attention, or they are not fighting to help us on this journey that we've embarked on for the past almost 80 years. And then there are the young Southern Cameroonians, the students that are being deceived. They are being told to go get ready to elect, and some of them are even campaigning for beer, for Christ's sake. They are campaigning for beer. They've been deceived, brainwashed. So I would like to find out from you exactly what lessons should I learn from everything that is happening, because this is really a time for introspection, where you really think about what you have to offer. You think about the facts surrounding what has happened to our people. You know, the facts don't lie. You think about those facts, and then you think about what you can do, what you are doing, what you are not doing. So what do you think about Southern Cameroonians, the lessons that they've learned from all of this that we've discussed today, and the forthcoming selection that is going to take place in a few months?
Well, one of the big thing is that the majority of the young people, of the people of that territory and La République du Cameroon, over 70% have only known Biya as president. That means they were born. Over 70% of that population, they have not known any other president. So that when we mention names like Abiedu,
Yeah,
they cannot imagine that. It's like mentioning Jesus Christ in the Bible. They cannot imagine that there was a former president called Abiedu. So all they have always known is Biya. And then if they have always lived in the land, they don't know any difference. And so they cannot even compare good from bad. So they don't even know how bad Cameroon is until they have the opportunity to get out. Then they will realize there is a difference between day and night. There's a difference between daylight and total darkness. And La République is total darkness. And when they come out, they'll be surprised to realize that, oh, the world can be different. And so that is, first of all, the big problem. Because these people, they are just struggling to survive. And they have not known any difference. So when you're talking to them, they say, what are you talking about? This is how we've always lived. And this is what we've always experienced. And they think that maybe Yaoundé is speaking the truth. But they know that sometimes some of the things that Yaoundé says, when they check things out, they are not correct. And they know that they are being marginalized. When they sell their family properties to campaign, to bribe in order to join a professional school, they are still not taken. Francophones are taken. And they're even in the job place, the few things you have, they put you down and put Francophones over you. They know that they are being looked at as second-class citizens, but they don't know what to do. So what I would tell these people is this: number one, the things that we're telling you out of experience. Personally, I was born before we acquired our independence.
yeah,
Before La République acquired their independence. And we have experienced Abiedu personally. When I was in high school in Kasbambli and Abiedu was ruling with an iron fist, you dared not say something about the government of Yaoundé negative, because you could be picked up by spies anytime. Abiedu was a firm dictator.
yes.
Now, somebody may think that Biya is not a dictator, but the military comes behind and kills people. So he's a dictator who kills just like Biya. The French have always used them as dictators. So we know what we're talking about when we talk about Abiedu. And we know what we're talking about. This fellow you call BA, your president. We have observed him. In fact, in 1978, Ahidjo called us to Yaoundé when I passed GCE O level with distinction to celebrate Cameroon's outstanding graduates and honored us in Yaoundé. We were 33 of us. Ahidjo was simply, BA was simply a prime minister. Ahidjo was even going to eat with us. And then in 1980, Ahidjo again gave us scholarship because he honored the performance we had in high school. So we know Biya before he became what you call president. And we have observed him through this. And I'm telling you, he is a monumental failure of a leader. And so if you have not known any other president, hear it from somebody who has compared to. He is a monumental failure of a leader. You see it in the poor nature of the roads. Look at the trash on the streets.
Oh,
Look at the neglect everywhere in all the infrastructures. That's not how the world is run. That man has abandoned that country. When you leave that country and only go to neighboring countries like Nigeria and Ghana, you will be shocked about the difference. So, yes, that man is a big failure. He is not your leader. Don't believe in what they are telling you. That's one. But the other problem is that you always have opportunities. They're always looking for food, and they will do anything just to eat. They don't have a spine in their back. They don't stand on true principles of what is right and what is wrong. So those are the people that stand and put their hands up to see where the wind is blowing. And if the wind is blowing this way, they go there. If the wind is blowing this way, they go there. They are not intentional. They don't stand for a principle and go for it. They have no moral conviction. So those are some of those children of Mabudi Sarin Cameroon that are working with the Republic of Cameroon. When BSA stand, they stand. When BSA sit, they sit. And whatever they tell them to do, they will do. If they say go and kill your brothers, they will go and kill. Remember that the deal, who was in Bello when Samsoya was beheaded, they used a knife to cut his head like you're cutting meat in Bingo. That deal just died. He was a guy, that Nkongo guy from Manu.
Yes.
An Amazonian. He was thinking that he was a Dio and was zealous. Another Southern Cameroonian who is a Dio in Gunjia has even done worse. He's arresting children who are as young as 3 months old, 8 months old, and locking them up. That is interesting. In fact, I will let the Indians abuse them. You know, the Indian journalist was trying to run at 92 years old. We should let the others abuse them, because their folly is beyond imagination and description. The rest of the world is just laughing at all of that. But can you imagine an English-speaking person arresting little babies and locking them up? So these are just opportunists who think that because they dress them up in military, in administrative uniforms, they are something. They are nothing. Because when they retire and come back to us, you realize that they are nothing. If they were lucky to have some few children that went abroad, they will follow them to come abroad and be eating from their children. But otherwise, if they stay on the land, they are nothing. That uniform on them is just a uniform that they are dressed. One time is black, one time is white, and one time is brown. It's just uniform that the French gave them to use them to oppress the land for France to continue to control. So anyway, what I'm saying is that you have these opportunists, but you have some people who know the truth and stand on what is truth, regardless of how old they are. And those are the people that we are saying, when you know the truth, you should stand for it. Yeah. Another actor in the thing that we didn't talk about is the Freemasonry International, that secret society that controls politicians. They just had a meeting in Yaoundé recently to manipulate the country to in this selection process. And you know, that international Freemasonry, they lead the politicians to embezzle funds, to divert them from their true purpose, and destroy the country and keep them in abject neglect. Look at the characteristics. They steal, divert funds, embezzle them. They kill, like the Republic went around killing our people, and they destroy, like they neglect. Those are characteristics of the devil. So these people are being led by Lucifer himself. So when you go through the ranks of international Freemasonry, when you reach the 33rd degree, they tell you that the God that they talk about is Lucifer. So that is their God. Those people are worshiping the devil. And so there's another actor that is behind the scenes. And the French have their own version of international Freemasonry. And those who have been taken through the ranks, they give them that little pin that is red they put on their coat, on the you see it on their coat here, that red pin, that means that you've reached the hierarchy
Yes.
of the French level of
Wow.
international freedom. Anyway, I'm sorry. I hope people can put it all together, all what I'm saying here.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned this recent incident of the duo that died, and they don't know exactly the details of what really happened. That's a topic for another day. But y- our concern really, I'm really worried about our people that really know the truth. Those of us who lived in the days of Ahidjo, those of us who lived in the former West Cameroon, if you lived in Boya, lived in Victoria, lived in Bamenda in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, and you know how our streets were clean, our hospitals were clean, our roads, even though they were not great roads, were manageable compared to what is happening now. You know that whoever is leading you has no care for you. So, with that said, why will you not want to find a way to make sure that Amazonia succeeds? You know, this is really a message for those people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and some maybe some in their 40s. Well, as you said, those who were in their 40s and know only one president, they don't know any better. But they've read. If you go now and if you follow what is happening since we started this our journey from 2017, 2016, there's a lot of information out there that you can read about the history and know how we were deceived, and know that eventually the only way for you to live the best life that God gave you is not to live under French Cameroon. That is just a given. The only way to live the best life that you, your family, your grandchildren, great grandchildren can have is to make sure that you have total control of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. And that is why we keep on reminding people, educating people of what was and what is now. And when you compare those two, it's a given. There's no way of you thinking that you belong to La Republique. Come on, Doc. I would like you to give your closing remarks on this selection that is taking place in October. Again, should our people be worried? What should they be doing? Just your final closing remarks as we end this topic today.
Yeah, so basically, yes, they should be concerned because the things that happen in the Republic of Korea, they send their troops to come and kill our people. Like you saw in Bali. La Republique went and put a military camp in Bali. The Bali people were celebrating, thinking that they have some more security. But what happened? This very week, that same military went out on the streets, found three boys on their Okadas, burned their Okadas, killed them, and threw the dead bodies on the streets. So that is the military that you're thinking about. When you see anything in uniform, police, they are not coming for you to help you. They are coming to kill and steal from you. They are thieves. They are criminals. They destroy. They don't do good. So don't rejoice when you see them. So anyway, so what I would advise our people is this: if you truly love yourself as an individual, if you value who you are as a person, don't participate in this charade called election or selection in La République du Cameroon. Stay away. Don't even go out. Don't waste your energy to go anywhere to participate because even when you do, the results are already a foregone conclusion. What the French will decide is what the so-called Constitutional Council will announce as a result, and the numbers that they want, they will put in there. But one thing I will let our people know is this: irrespective of what the French do, irrespective of what the Essengan, that is the secret court around Bia, that is constituted of Bulu, Betis, and some few people that have been incorporated, and they are trying their best in that memorandum how to keep power among themselves and their children in perpetuity. That means they will stay in power and control Cameroon for hundreds of years, in which they have said that they look at Anglophones or English speaking as second class citizens. They will kill us and they don't care how many of us die. and they want to do everything, if it's necessary, to commit another genocide against the Bamli case, and that they will abandon the Northeast to their poverty regardless of what. In spite of what these people do, the country will change. And this is how it's going to be. I have mentioned it before in this program. The testimony and the prophecy and destiny of Cameroon is depicted in its flag. You see the green, red, yellow, which are the colors of pepper, the pepper that we put to spice our food. Okay, and most African countries have the green, red, and yellow, which the French imposed. They were basically saying, we'll put pepper into your eyes. That's what the French were saying. But anyway, if you look at our own, you had the green when Ahidjo was president, then you have the red when Biya is. After Biya, there will be a yellow. Okay, now the experiment between the nations, the authentic, independent, free nation of Ambazonia, or the former British Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroon, was practiced under Ahidjo when they were attempting to come together. So you saw two flags on the green. Ahidjo's time was more prosperous than Biya's time. And Ahidjo stood for the green revolution, encouraged people to work on the farm. So that portion of the flag is green, and they experimented two different states, which the French manipulated and forced it to one in order to steal our oil. During Biya's turn, we have seen the fire. The symbol of the CBDM is a torch of fire. They burn things up, not only burning in our villages, but also even in offices. When they want to hide things, documents, they burn them in the National Assembly, in several ministries. They are that's the symbol of fire. Then blood. When you kill people, blood flows, and blood is red. They have killed many people in our region. They have committed genocide. Over 60,000 people have been killed in former British Southern Cameroon. They talk today about 60,000 people killed in Palestine in public media. They don't mention the over 60,000 killed in the former British Southern Cameroon. It's a different story. We will not go into that. But Biya's term is depicted by the red, killing, burning under Biya's term. And then his attempt at keeping Cameroon as one and indivisible, which is the one star on it. After Biya is gone, it doesn't matter how long they want to say that he's alive. After Biya is gone for good, and he will, Cameroon will move over to the yellow. And you will realize that the yellow portion that represents the people who were two under Ahidjo, the two stars, and then one under the red, will move over to the yellow, and you will not see it again because it will merge in the yellow and disappear. At that point, all the true people, different groups will assume their true identity. The people of the former British Southern Cameroon will be totally separated from La République du Cameroon. The Northeast will be separated from the Petit Boulous. It doesn't matter how much they want control and power. The Bamli case will all separate with the people around Douala. Even though the Petit Boulous are trying to resurrect Kribi as the bigger city, overcoming Douala, having an international airport, oil, and all of that, don't worry about all of that. They will squander it and destroy it because theirs is to eat and destroy. They don't build. We build. So don't worry. We will assume our true identity and emerge very strong in Africa and be known around the world. So that is coming after Biya is gone. It doesn't matter who is doing what, whether it's the French or the group around Biya with my classmate at Tanganji manipulating and doing all that rubbish. Don't worry about it. The country will change, as I showed you, depicted on the flag. It's coming. And that country will break up into like 4 different groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lobati. Always a pleasure having you on this program, The Voice of the Amber Woman. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on this program, watching us every Friday. We appreciate you. And again, he has given us so much to look forward to. The take-home message, again, is that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia will evolve. There will be a land where your children, my children, great-grandchildren will have a land that they will thrive, and not the fake union that we currently have, that our young people have no hope for the future. So with that said, I am hoping that those of you who went to elite schools, like I'm talking about the Southern Cameroonians who went to schools like Sacred Heart, Lady of Lords, Sase, Seka, all the mission school, the PSS, Mancon, PSS, Batibo, the Bafut, Bishop Rogan, all those schools. I may have missed some. I cannot list all of them. Bisunga Bank. We had great students that came from the school that are well educated, that are in positions that can help build Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Please be ready to go and build Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia with your talent that you've acquired over the years. With that said, I want to wish you a great weekend. By the way, I think tomorrow, Saturday, we have the Mezam draft coming to, the draft is going to Mezam. So those of you that are from Mezam, we're talking about Santa LGA, Tuba, Bali, Bameda 1, Bameda 2, Bameda 3, and what else? I may have forgotten 1 or 2. There are 7 LGAs. Please be ready to come and support your county so that we get closer and closer to Boya. So long, and see you next time. Long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Short live the struggle. Thank you so much, Dr. Lobati.
Very good.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Today is Friday, August 1st, 2025. Today is a special voter warning alert for Ambazonians. Please make sure that you share widely to protect the revolution. Fellow Ambazonians, a dangerous online scam is being circulated by known traitors, particularly Paul Nilong, who is now openly promoting President Paul Biya's re-election campaign through a deceptive 10,000 francs cash gift offer. The message being shared reads, President Paul Biya, 10,000 francs CFA cash transfer for Cameroonians. Some of us just got theirs. It reads, English link, click here. French link, cliquez ici. Do not open the link. By clicking and submitting your information, you may unknowingly cast a vote in Biya's fraudulent 2025 election, a vote exchanged for 10,000 francs, and a betrayal of our people's blood and resistance. This tactic is part of La République du Cameroon's strategy to fake voter participation and manufacture legitimacy for a regime that has murdered over 60,000 Ambazonians, burned our villages, and imprisoned our leaders. Remember, Ambazonia is not part of Cameroon. You cannot vote in a foreign election you are resisting. 10,000 francs CFA is the price of betrayal, not survival. Sharing this link aids the enemy. So what should you do? Delete any messages you receive. Warn your family and community. Report any individual distributing this link to Ambazonia authorities in exile. Stay vigilant. Loyalty to Ambazonia means refusing the bribes of our oppressor. This revolution is not for sale. Not for 10,000 francs CFA. Not for anything. This has been the voice of Ambazonia. Thank you.
You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.